Welcome to Chronicles by Candlelight. Subscribing helps the channel grow and lets you stay updated with every new video, so you never miss the content you enjoy. You are listening to Fracture, Episode 11, Immovable Object. The cold morning air hit like an icy alarm clock the moment we stepped outside. Whatever grogginess I had left disappeared fast. The last thing Zack Champion said was, "Let's go train." Now he had his hands in his pockets, leading me to God knows where, like this was just another normal morning. I watched him from a few steps behind, trying to reconcile the guy in front of me with the one I had seen in the arena. It was like there was a switch he could turn off and on, menacing or goofy. And his eyes, last I remembered they burned bright red, yet they looked normal now. We walked past the main paths and cut behind the dormitories until the buildings thinned out and gave way to flattened dirt and patches of dry grass. There were blue survey pegs outlining the portions of the land the Institute probably planned to use to build more dorms here eventually. Zack stopped near the center, rolled his shoulders, pulled one arm across his chest, switched, then bent down and touched his toes. He was stretching. "Good enough," he said. A few uneasy moments of silence passed, then I stretched my arms the same way he did, bent down and tried to touch my toes. My hamstrings protested immediately. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Zack looking at me curiously. "What combat level are you?" he asked. "My what?" I straightened up. He frowned slightly. "Your combat level." "I don't know what that is," I said. Zack let out a short breath and rolled his neck. "Doesn't matter," he said. "Come at me." "What?" I blinked. "Attack me," he said with a small smile. "It's fine. I'll figure out what level you are." That should have helped. It didn't. I wasn't sure how to even start. Zack's smile faded. "Come at me like you mean it," he said. "Like you're trying to kill me." My stomach tightened. The field suddenly felt a whole lot bigger and quieter than before. I swallowed, then stepped forward and raised my hands. I had no real training to fall back on, so I copied what I had seen before, and fell into basic boxing stance, protecting my face with my fists. Zack didn't move. I took a breath, then pushed off my back foot and threw a straight punch. He slipped it easily. I threw another one right after. He leaned his head just enough to the side that I missed again. This time my weight had shifted too far forward, my foot dragged across the dirt, and the next thing I knew, I was on the ground. I lay there for a second, staring up at the sky. That had gone about as bad as it possibly could. Zack crouched beside me. His expression said everything. "How did you even get into the Institute?" he asked. "Screw you." I pushed myself up onto my elbows, then sat up. I wasn't supposed to be in this department. He didn't respond, so I kept going. "I applied for security and enforcement," I said. "That was the plan. I don't even know why they put me in combat. I tried to fix it yesterday, with Slade Baldwin. He gave me a way out and I didn't take it. He searched my eyes and I tried not to reveal the thoughts behind them." "Why not?" he asked. I hesitated. "Because of you," I said, "and your stupid fight. I saw that and I don't know. It got to me." Zack stared at me for a second. Then he nodded slowly. "I see how that can happen," he said. A silence stretched, then held. Zack sat down beside me, crossed his legs, and rested his elbows on his knees. His gaze remained focused straight ahead like he reviewed a thought in his mind. After a moment, he spoke again. "You were reading my movements yesterday," he said. "Not all the time," I replied. "When?" he asked. "Just moments," I said. "I think it has something to do with my ability." He nodded without looking at me. I thought I heard the sound of the gears in his head working. Then it was gone, if it had been there at all. His brows really came alive when he was thinking, like two thick worms wiggled on his forehead. "There are 8 levels of combat prowess," he said. "Brawler, soldier, awakened, phantom, executioner, commander, paragon, calamity," he said. "That can change over the school year." He looked at me. "You," he said, "you don't have one." I let out a small breath. "That bad?" "It's worse," he said plainly. He tapped his chest. "I'm awakened," he said. Then he pointed at me. "You're below brawler," he added. No tear. I didn't even know how to respond to that. "I've got nothing to gain from training with you right now," he said. "You're too far behind." He didn't say it like an insult, which somehow made it worse. "If you want to train with me," he continued, "you need to reach at least soldier." I stared at him. "How the hell do you expect me to do that?" I asked. "Train," he he shrugged. Until you drop. That's what I did. Of course he did. I looked down at my hands for a second, then back at him. Can you just show me something? I asked. One or two things. Anything. Zack didn't answer right away. Get up, he said. I pushed myself to my feet again. My back still felt the impact from the fall, but my pride felt worse. I want to see your stance, Zack said. I settled into the same boxing stance I'd used before, feet staggered, hands up, chin tucked, and it felt slightly more stable this time. Zack looked at me for a second. Then his foot slammed into mine from the side. I didn't even see the full motion. My balance disappeared instantly, and I hit the ground again. What's the point of a fighting stance, he asked, if I can knock you off it that easily? I pushed myself up onto one knee and looked at him. That's kind of the point of training, isn't it? I muttered, trying to hide my frustration. Zack didn't respond to that. Instead, he stepped back and adjusted his posture. Watch, he said. He shifted his feet apart, wider than shoulder width, and lowered his center of gravity. His knees bent slightly. He looked comfortable yet tense, like a cat ready to spring. The moment he settled into that stance, I felt my skin crawl. It was subtle, but the air around him felt so tight you could walk on it. I stared at him, trying to figure out what I was seeing. Try it, he said. I stood up and adjusted my feet to match his, widened my stance, lowered my center, bent my knees slightly, and tried to relax my upper body the way he had. It felt awkward, like I was forcing my body into a position it didn't understand. I tried to get comfortable, to settle into the stance like Zack had done. That was a mistake. Zack took me down for the third time. I hit the dirt and lay there for a second. This is ridiculous, I muttered under my breath. Zack stepped closer. You're thinking too much, he said. And you have no base. I rolled onto my back and looked up at him. Gee, thanks, that's helpful. Since you're starting from zero, he continued, you need a foundation. He stepped back again. Horse stunts, he said. He spread his feet wide again, even wider this time, and lowered himself further. His knees bent deeper, his hips dropped, and his back stayed straight. It looked simple. Now take me down, Zack said. I stared at him for a second, then tried to mimic the kick he'd used on me earlier. I swung my leg out low toward his ankle, but Zack didn't move. Not even a little. I frowned and tried again, this time putting more force into it. Same result. He didn't budge. Seriously? Frustration started to build. I lunged forward, trying to shove, but it felt like running into a wall. The moment I made contact, all the force I had pushed forward snapped back into me, and I bounced off him like a damn tennis ball. The air left my lungs as soon as I hit the ground. I lay there, staring up at the sky again. This is a joke, I said, breathless. Zack walked over. Today is Friday, he said. Okay. I frowned, wondering where this was going. You have until Tuesday, he continued, to become immovable. If you can't, I'm not teaching you anything else. What? I said, feeling a fresh batch of frustration shoot right into me. You heard me. Zack turned and started to walk away. I pushed myself up quickly. That's it? I asked. That's all you're going to show me? I mean, you didn't teach me anything I can actually use in a fight. What about all that stuff you were doing, the space distortion, your spiritual energy? Zack stopped and said, if you can't hold a basic stance, there's no way you'll control your spiritual energy. That's a drag. I clenched my jaw. What am I going to do until then? I'm basically a sitting duck. He looked at me with judgy eyes. Am I supposed to feel bad because of that? He said. You made your decision to stay, so work hard. I didn't respond. Zack looked at me for a second longer, then shrugged slightly. Look, fix your base, become immovable, he said. Then we talk. And with that, he turned and walked off, leaving me alone in the empty field. Immovable, I muttered. Yeah, this was going to suck. I got up, adjusted my feet, lowered myself into the stance Zack had shown me, and tried to settle into it. My balance shifted slightly from side to side, and I kept making small adjustments to stay upright, but my mind kept drifting. First it was the arena, then moments from Zack's fight, and what Slade Baldwin said about ocular abilities sharing a frequency. This wasn't training, I was just standing in a weird position and hoping something clicked. I exhaled slowly and held the stance a little longer. My thighs started to burn, my knee dipped inward, my foot slid slightly, and I stepped out to stop myself from falling. That was useless, I muttered. I wasn't even sure what I was supposed to be feeling. I looked down at the ground for a second, then let out a breath. All light. I stepped back into position. This time, I didn't rush it. I adjusted slowly until everything felt at least consistent. Then I stopped moving. I let my arms hang loosely at my sides and focused on staying still. I pushed my thoughts aside before they could roam free again. I drew in a slow breath through my nose and let it out slowly. A faint breeze moved across the field and brushed against my skin. My legs still burned, but there was also a weight there, rooting me to the ground that I hadn't felt before. The earth beneath me felt unmoving, and in turn, so did I. Then, another thought pushed through. I was going to try to use my spiritual energy. I focused inward this time, past the stance, past the physical strain, and tried to feel something change. Subscribe for new episodes. See you next time.